Now, most of the Kolkata Knight Riders players will be celebrating winning their second IPL title, but one amongst them will be having a bittersweet moment. Happy because he's won a title, but not happy because he may not get a chance to play for West Indies against New Zealand in the first test match. We're talking about Sunil Narine, who chose to play for KKR in the finals, but in the process missed the deadline for that camp that West Indies were about to start ahead of the New Zealand series. So club versus country, which is the right path to take? That's what we'll be debating. Dean Jones, Venkatesh, Prasad, Ajit, Agarkar with me. I'll start with you, Dino. Do you think this is the sign of our times now? This is going to happen more often?
Well, I can't speak of the youth of today and the young guys that are playing today, but it's one of the greatest things ever to represent your country. Whether you've only played 6 test matches or whether you played 100 test matches. You know, in Australia, there's only been 437 guys who have represented Australia over 140 years of cricket. You are privileged to play for your country to do that. And it's damn hard to get picked, you know. And my father always said, if you make enough runs, selection will look after itself. Now, what's more important now for the young kids? Is it playing for your country or is the money? And
we'll obviously try and ask the kids a little
we will, and obviously it's the money. So I can't speak on their behalf, but what we try to do is try to educate them. That when you, all right, like Narine's won a cup, he's won the domestic IPL. But when you play for your country, it's a completely different feeling again.
What would you do, if you were in his position?
Don't even ask me ever again. Playing for your country, number one uno.
Okay, Venki, to you, where do you stand on this one?
Well, look, I would definitely go with Dino. Yes, pride in representing the country is what takes the priority.
Even if it's the IPL finals, even
no
if
doubt,
it's
absolutely,
a franchise
anything, or the money or
money.
whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's the privilege of representing the country. It's the pride that you have in playing for the nation. I think that's what should be the priority of any player. But having said that, here he had those 2 days, isn't it? And he could have just gone back and he could have played the test match. I mean, look, nothing like playing in the middle, getting that match practice, isn't it? So I think that's how I look at it. And was there something more to it than just the player taking a decision? Was the boards involved in it?
No,
so this is where I feel the West Indies Cricket Board, I'm telling you, they should have gone with the player. They should have said, okay, fine, anyway you're playing cricket, you're not just spending time there.
We're looking at theories, conspiracy theories, or whatever it could be the reason. But we're not getting into why West Indies Cricket Board has done it, because we'll have situations in the future where what we're trying to look at is
you cannot
what
just negate
should
again.
a player
Sorry
do?
to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. You cannot just leave it to the player, or completely. You need to take certain responsibility. Well, as a player, yes, and as a cricket board also.
But it's his call in the end.
This is IPL. I mean, you know what IPL can do, isn't it? In terms of the stature.
Okay.
So,
but you said you'd go for the country, because I want to know a player's perspective, and which is why I wanted to ask you. So before I get into the debate, let me just get
Ajit's dilemma, I would say.
Ajit's initial thoughts. Ajit, what would you expect a player to do, and what would you do if you were in Narine's position?
Oh, not even a debate. I mean, only 15 guys get to play for the country. So, when you get that opportunity, you'll be foolish to not take it. So, there's no doubt whether it's an IPL final or not. If you're getting an opportunity to play a test match, just blindly I'll pick a test match. There's no doubt about it. But like Venki said, in this case, he wasn't missing the game. He was just missing a couple of days of the camp. So, which is a little bit strange from the West Indies Cricket Board. I think they could have allowed him to miss a couple of days of practice. But if it was between picking a game for your country and playing an IPL game, there's no debate there. I mean, you always pick your country first.
Okay, what the West Indies Cricket Board has done, we're not getting into it, because like I mentioned, the purpose of the debate is to look into the future. We will have situations where IPL will overlap international series. And now just to play the devil's advocate, Yeah,
if I just add on a little bit more, we knew that he had to be back by June 1. We know that that's a fact.
Right.
Second thing is he only played 6 tests and he averages 40 with the ball. He wasn't guaranteed a test spot, but he's one of the 15, agreed? And also might come back in conspiracy, he still doesn't think, well, I'm not really going to get a game here. And that comes down to self-belief. He said, well, if I'm not going to get a game here, I'd rather be here.
Okay.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you commit You want to play for your country, and I'll do anything I can to play for my country. I've got a feeling it's more that than anything else.
Okay, we're not trying to get into specific now.
No.
Just let's look at this debate now, country versus club. And I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate. Venki, I'll start with you now. Why is it just in cricket we want to be the ostrich with our head in the sand and not look around what's happening in the world? Take any sport. Take any sport. Take tennis for that matter. We've seen big stars prioritize their Grand Slams ahead of Davis Cup, which they play for their country. We've seen them pull out of Davis Cup. Take football for that matter. I've seen any footballer, be the greatest, loved like say Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, loved by their country. They put their clubs ahead of that. They take permissions from their club when they can be released. Don't play international friendlies. Why is it just in cricket that we say, no, playing for your country has to be #1 priority?
Look, I'm not very sure about the other sport. Yes, I know that a lot of tennis players do miss playing for their country when it comes to Davis Cup and so on. And they prefer to play Grand Slam instead. But it doesn't clash. And here, in this case also, it's not that it's clashing. The test match is clashing with the IPL.
But you know, they put their fitness in line. So they play a full season of Grand Slam tennis, for example, and then they say that they need some rest, so they're skipping the Davis Cup. So they put themselves ahead of
and
country.
Also to give
and no one
opportunities.
Really criticizes them.
No, but they make most of their money from their clubs, where most of the guys are making most of their money from the countries for playing for their country. That's the reason why Australians, if they're told that they have to leave straight away, I think maybe the question we could look at is that what would you miss a test match for? I would say for birth of your child, a major bereavement in your family. If you chose your wedding date on that day, boys, you move your wedding date, don't you? So you have to play for your country.
Let's look at professionals. Now we call them professional cricketers. I'm a professional, you're a professional. When it comes to money, we're doing a job. Wouldn't we prioritize that rather than leaving that and doing some other work for which we're not going to be?
So when we interview Ajit, and we'll get his word in a minute, and Venki, and we see straight away on the computer, India, Delhi, boom, boom, boom. What comes first? Indian Test cricketer.
Oh, true.
That's priority one.
Why is it just in the world of cricket? Why is it just in the world of cricket?
It's very simple, Nikhil. You just got to make sure that you create a window for IPL so that none of these cases would come in, or we debate on this, or there's going to be clash of the IPL matches.
There'll be many other private
I think this is very simple.
There are many private leagues coming in, Venki. How do we manage
for the IPL? IPL is one of the biggest.
IPL
is one of the biggest of whatever.
But we will have a situation where other leagues are now.
Whatever we talk about, whatever league it is, IPL is one of the biggest league that could ever happen. And this is where I think the ICC needs to create a window for the IPL, that 2 months or whatever it is, so that every player are available to play the IPL, and then they can have their tour program, future tour program.
I disagree with that. Because we were talking about that, let me put Ajit in a spot. I know that he's a big Indian cricket fan because he's played for India. He loves the team. He's a big Manchester United fan as well. You support Manchester United. Now, imagine a situation where Rooney pulls out and doesn't play for Manchester United, goes and plays for England, or gets injured while playing for England. What would you do then when you're supporting a club team, and we have many fans supporting club team? Wouldn't they want their players to play those important games?
Yeah, but it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I look at it a little bit differently because you mentioned tennis and soccer.
Right.
I mean, football. None of the players miss a football World Cup or a Euro Cup.
Absolutely.
True, but we're not talking about a cricket World Cup, Ajit. We're not talking about a cricket World Cup in Narine's case.
So, I mean, no, what I'm trying to say is IPL your biggest tournament for you, or is playing international cricket the biggest thing for you? So, it's a little bit different in case of cricket.
No, but my question was, Ajit, my question was that in every sport it's accepted now that, club comes first, or in tennis, like I said, Grand Slams come first for them. Can we reach a situation where we make peace with it, that they're professional cricketers, they are there to make money?
Yeah, I mean, look, they are professional cricketers because they've come from a certain country. That's why they've got an opportunity to play in the IPL. Again, you mentioned Grand Slams, but Grand Slam is the biggest prize in tennis. Davis Cup, if it's a final, I don't think many of the top players miss a Davis Cup final or a semi-final. So it's a difficult one. But, as Dino mentioned initially, I don't know what the youth today think, because I've seen a lot of guys think a little bit differently. But you've got to pick your country first. I mean, that's how you are recognized, and that's how you get into that.
When you're a young kid or a young boy, a young girl, you dream of playing, the first thing you dream of, I want to wear that blue cap playing for India. You don't think about the cash.
Dino,
You always come to that.
correct, but I hate to admit it. I go around young academies. The ambitions have changed. I hear of young kids talk about playing for an IPL team. I do not hear many talk about Indian.
Oh,
and they say, well, I need an IPL contract. I hear 10, 12-year-old kids say that in cricket academies. Okay, by a show of hands, I'll get your opinion now. How many of you do you think this is the future of cricket, where players, like in other sports, will put their own personal interest, which is to play professional sport, to you? What is your take on this whole debate? Can you pass on the mic to her?
According to me, in considering the present scenario, I think that the players would prioritize their personal interest.
You think that's the future? This is going to happen?
I think that.
And do you think it's correct?
Thinking about in terms of patriotism and our duty towards our country, definitely it's immoral and it's not right. It's
immoral. Okay.
Definitely, it's not correct.
You dream of something, but when you reach there, it may be not what you've thought of it. People ultimately value a thing which gives them value. I feel clubs value players more than a country values their players.
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
There are only 15 people in. See, there are many people passionate for the game and they want to play the game, but only 15 people can make it. What about the rest?
Very valid point. You know, the clubs value their players, and the player feels at home when they're playing. It doesn't quite happen with cricket boards. Okay, another opinion. You haven't spoken. Go ahead. What is that?
Summing it up in my own way is that when a person or somebody is participating in something, that there needs to be a system in which the country invests a system of flexibility in their own law, so that they allow their players to play in.
No, but we will have a situation where we're talking that it will overlap. It will happen. We cannot avoid
in this
that.
case,
Why just IPL?
In this case, in Narayan's case, we do have time so that he can play a final.
But I'm not getting into Narayan in general.
Well,
just the future.
English
There will
guys,
be time that it will overlap.
And
because he makes a very interesting point, and I want your opinion on that. You know, clubs value, and I've heard it from players, they feel at home when they're playing for IPL franchises. Just to set the cat amongst the pigeon, Dino, do you see that we keep talking about representing countries, but what they're actually doing is representing boards? Country is a convenient way of saying it.
It's about balance, and would KKR have picked up Narine if he didn't play for the West Indies? He played for the West Indies first. And that's where they picked him up, or had a really good understanding.
But we've had cases players not playing international cricket.
But there haven't been great players to come through and earn the big bucks. But in follow it up with Venky's situation, see, the problem is England boys don't play here because it's their time also to make money. This is their window of the year where they want to. They've got test matches going on against Sri Lanka and all that type of stuff. So the more you creep into the other country's time having a window, how big's that window got to be? So I still think the IPL is too long. 53 days is ridiculous. Okay. It's got to be fitted into a smaller time frame, and I think countries would work with it. But ultimately, the kids are changing. Why? Because it's about the buck. And you know what? You can be loyal to your country, and I've played at a time we didn't earn any money. And take my baggy green cap, I walk down to the post office to pay my bill. That doesn't pay the bill. You know, that's one of the harsh realities of life. But I tell you what, though.
So what do you do then?
That's I tell you what, though.
Conundrum.
I've turned 50, and I look and I haven't earned the bucks that all these boys have, but I can say I'm a Test cricketer and I've played the best I have, and I still have respect to wherever I walk in Australia.
Okay, so does it come down then to personal choice? What do you want? Like Dino says here, he may not have made the bucks, but when he looks back, he feels proud of what he's done for the country.
Yes. I mean,
but it doesn't pay the bill. Then there could be another cricketer who drives a fancier car than Dino, lives in a fancier house.
I doubt it.
I would definitely echo Dino's words here. Even it's a great privilege and a pride for me to have represented the country, no doubt about it. And I always value it much more than anything else. And even if IPL had to be there when I was playing, probably if country had there was a clash, I would have picked country for sure.
Finally,
so just quickly, you've got your KKR cap here, and you've got your Indian cap, right? Yeah. And you've got a couple of people coming into your house for dinner. What's the first cap they're going to go to and have a look at? Boom.
Okay, might change. Like again, I go back to examples of football. If you had a United jersey and an Argentina jersey, you never know. People might just look at United. It might happen in the IPL. We don't know. We're still in a nascent stage of T20 cricket. I'll finally go to Ajit. Ajit, and this is a point that was raised by one of our audience members. You've now seen both. You've played the IPL, you've been part of franchises, and I've heard from a lot of players, they really look after you. Whereas cricket board, now I know it's a very tough situation I've put you in. You've also been looked after by the BCCI for so many years. But do you think this is something for more than the players, the boards need to realize that you really need to look after international cricketer. Unfortunately, I don't see many international boards do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, the BCCI does look after the player when he's playing for India. Just like any franchisee, you know, when you're part of a franchisee, they look after you really well. Again, it comes to an individual where you're comfortable with. You know, there's a lot more pressure sometimes playing for, say, your country than maybe a franchisee where you're almost assured 14 games. So, you know, people look at it differently. I think it's a little bit unfair to say the boards don't look after you. I think it's not completely true. Maybe there are certain things they can change and, you know, look after the player a little bit better. But I don't think there's a distinction, at least when I played for the IPL or when I played for the BCCI. You know, I couldn't make out the distinction of not being looked after.
Okay, I knew that it was a tough question.
Nikhil,
finally, yeah.
I mean, how can we say that the franchises are looking after the players better than the boards? Tell me where.
I'll tell you why.
We cannot just think of
you have
KKR,
players associations in most countries fighting against their boards. You don't have players association fighting with IPL franchises.
No. But the point here.
I'm just giving an example. Why would you say that?
The point here is that we feel the IPL franchises are looking after their players better than the boards.
I'm giving an example. There are players associations across the world fighting against the boards because they think the players aren't getting what they deserve internationally. I don't see any player complaining that about the franchise. I mean, that's the present day reality. Unfortunately, completely out of time. I would have loved to have carried on. I would have loved to have carried on. But you know, since I'm giving examples of other sports, maybe this is something that all of us can think about. It happens in boxing. There are two different categories. Amateur, when you're amateur, you play for your country. When you become professional, you do not represent your country in the Olympic Games. Then all you do is make money. Yet, Muhammad Ali, when he was an amateur, when he was a professional, still regarded by many as the greatest sportsman ever, even though he wasn't representing the United States of America for a very long time. On that note and food for thought for all of you, I'd like to thank all my experts, Dean Jones, Venkatesh, Prasad and Ajit Agarkar for joining us and the lovely audience that we had.